welcome to the Nook on the Voluntary Virtues Network. I'm Steve, and with me here today is Matt.
Cheers.
Mike.
Oi.
And Kev G. And today I'm drinking Bitch Creek Extra Special Brown Ale.
Extra special, as opposed to the special brown ale, which is,
And it's good, too.
delicious.
I think the extra special means it's really hoppy.
Okay.
Or just extra special, I don't know.
Or maybe it's just extra special. It is bottle conditioned.
Bottle condition kind of does
Which
make
is
something...
makes it even fancier.
What does that mean?
Despite the fact that it's a simpler...
It's carbonated in the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of spraying CO2 in to carbonate it,
Forced carbonation.
which is called forced carbonation, they add sugar and leave some of the yeast in with the beer. I mean, some yeast is always going to be in the beer, but they add sugar to cause it to create the carbonation from the yeast rather than from forcing carbonation into it.
If you were to buy a homebrew, there's probably like a 90% chance that if you're buying some homebrew, it's bottle conditioned.
You mean being given homebrew from a generous...
Oh, yeah, that they may or may not accept donations for in order to
No, that you may feel grateful for.
that might
and
feel
want to
grateful
give them
for
something in return.
Grateful to, yeah.
Totally independently.
Totally independently, not related to any sort of,
It's
yeah.
a good beer, though. I think that's the point we're trying to make.
bottling.
It's a good beer.
But the difference is that, so that's bottle condition, is that the general brewing process is over. You bottle it, and then you add a little bit of bottling sugar in there, cap it, and then you wait another 10, 15 days, and then it adds a little bit, and adds the carbonation there because it's pressurized, right? So no oxygen is getting out of there. It's doing extra fermenting, but it's pressurized, so that adds the bubbles, if you will. Whereas, like every major bottling company, there's assembly line is dun 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 dun, dun CO2 dun 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 dun, capping. Like real quick they spray it CO2 and then cap it real quick.
Gotcha.
So that is a difference, and I think it makes for a better beer, bottle conditioned for sure. If I'm going to be snobby about it, yeah, bottle conditioned does taste a little bit better.
I think you're official.
Yeah,
beer snob.
officially it's a beer snob. You're just like.
What are you drinking anyway, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, blah 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 blah. Just explain brewing a little bit, I suppose. Sierra Nevada Stout. Sierra Nevada.
Don't say we never taught you nothing.
Yeah. Exactly. There you go. Sierra Nevada. We were doing a show on ethics. Turns out beer was more interesting. So, no, Sierra Nevada is
The ethics of beer.
The ethics of beer. How to make beer and what is it no-no.
The towel of beer.
The Talmud of beer, did you say? What?
So the towel.
The Tao of beer. Talmud. I was thinking different part of the world. Sierra Nevada is a pretty good brewing company for the most part. Their normal pale ale, not gonna lie, guys. Hey, if you're watching from Sierra Nevada, your normal pale ale, it's all right. It's not bad, but it's not really good. But you guys, when you get together and do some specialty stuff, you do a stout or you do an IPA or Ruthless Rye, start making that year round so I can drink it more. I'll buy
it is year round.
Yeah.
I think you just don't go to the right stores or something.
I'm probably not going to the right store, but I can never find it. I'm always like, where's the Ruthless Rye? And it's always... But
I will keep an eye out for it, and I'll let you know.
Yeah. Send me a text the minute you see it so you don't forget. Yeah. So that's what I'm drinking is Sierra Nevada Stout. It's pretty good. It's solid, nice and dark and creamy and wonderful.
Kevin?
I'm
Air?
drinking air again.
Yeah. Air.
Air, yes. Kevin.
Get out.
It's mildly on the humid side, so yes, you could be considered drinking it. Okay, fair enough.
Unethical.
Unethical.
I think we gave away the topic already.
Pretty sure.
Is there a precise topic name?
Well, I think we're probably going to do a couple of episodes on various different points of view of ethics. Today we're going to talk about specifically intuitional ethics. Is that what you would call it?
It's called ethical intuitionism.
Okay. Ethical intuitionism.
Ah, yes. I like the way that flows so easily.
Yeah.
So flesh it out a bit.
All right. So this was Michael Huemer is where I read this first, and he has a book called unsurprisingly, ethical intuitionism.
Nice. Self-titled.
Basically, his argument is that let me gather my thoughts here. I'm no expert in this. Basically, that all existing ethical systems are unprovable. So
Okay.
anything from subjectivism to utilitarianism to any kind of deontological things, including the non-aggression principle. And yet, with that said, there is objective morality that we all observe intellectually through moral intuitions, just like we observe the world through, a sense. And so the reason I like it is that I think it kind of throws a lot of people off at first because it sounds just unscientific and loopy. But he goes through a lot of kind of thought experiments where my favorite one that he has is if you walk into a hospital, you're going to visit a friend, and there are 4 people in the hospital that all need an organ immediately, and the doctor comes up to you and says, "Can I kill you and take your organs?" And most people have an intuition that something, like you need more details to look into that. But what's the interesting part about it is that they've even interviewed utilitarian philosophers, and even they say that I have an intuition that something seems fishy here, but nevertheless I'm going to use my system to say it's wrong, or to say it's right or whatever. Now, the one thing kind of connecting it to voluntarism that I really like about it is that it doesn't require that you convince somebody of the non-aggression principle. Mm-hmm. Because I think there's a good case to be made, non-aggression principle, and we could talk about this, but that it's not universally true, that sometimes you may need to aggress in some extreme cases. And so you don't have to prove that. You just say, his argument in another book he has called The Problem of Political Authority is, if you were just living in community and everything's fine, imagine no government, and some random guy in the community walks up to your door and says, "Hey, I've noticed some people that I didn't really like, and I've been putting them in my basement to protect you."
So I got some people living in my basement. They really can't leave, but I just want to let you know that
I'm protecting you this way, so can you pay me some money to keep them alive?
Exactly, and if you don't pay me, I'm going to put you in my basement. And I think he really makes a great analogy with democracy. He's like, okay, well, somebody might say, well, what if we post up the rules on somebody's door that says, here are the rules, and you're going to the basement if you don't follow these rules.
Does this guy, does he have or have not a ski mask and chainsaw, though? Like, this is really, I mean, if you're talking about putting people in a basement, like, I'm trying to think, like, how is he convincing people that he can put them in the basement?
Yeah, imagine he's got a business suit on. He looks really nice.
American Psycho, that guy. My business card has not matte finish. I'm really disturbed by this. Sort of,
But basically the argument is that if you accept the analogy, there's really no difference between that and government. And same thing with, for example, welfare. If Susie has got cancer and she needs some money, if there's some recluse on the corner of your block, you might go up and ask, hey, can you donate some money for Susie? But are you going to put a gun to that person's head if they say no? So basically, people do have these intuitions, and you can argue where they come from, are they correct, whatever. But I think it's a good starting point to talk about voluntarism because it's non-confrontational.
Now, see, that was something I was going to ask you about, because intuitionalism, however you want to call it. Not everybody has the same intuition. Right. And a lot of that can be based on the society that they were born into, how they were raised, things like that. And in some cases, their intuition may be harmful.
Absolutely.
Their intuition in a given situation could be harmful. How does how does that make for an objective form of morality?
So
if you put the witch in the water and she floats, she's not a witch? Is that how, or is it the other way around? If she sinks, she is a witch?
no, she weighs more than the duck.
She weighs more than... Oh, Monty Python. All right.
But no, it's a great question. So
Yeah.
his argument is that intuition is just a starting point, and if you can use reason and evidence to prove an intuition wrong. So his great example is somebody could say that people have an intuition that you need a government, and so there he uses the evidence of psychological research of obedience to authority. Who's that guy?
This is why Brian should have been here.
Anyway, so there's a
Yeah.
famous study done after World War II where
Milgram.
no,
Yes.
thank you,
Yes.
sir. So
Off camera, John said Milgram.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
There's like 40 people off camera.
We do have, 40 people. Very large live audience. Thank you very much. Yeah.
so there's Milgram, there's Zimbardo, I think, is the other.
Yeah.
Philip Zimbardo
Yeah.
with the prisoners study. But basically, that you can see evidence of people's predisposition to look at authority without reason, because they just kind of, somebody with a lab coat on has authority to a lot of people. So in that sense, you can actually say that people's intuition about, for example, government is distorted by, let's say, evolution towards, having some leader or something like that. And also intuitions might conflict. And basically
Absolutely.
his argument is that there may not be an easy answer, but it seems like we do all have some base intuitions about murder, rape, theft that seem to be common across most people.
And that's a good point, is to, I guess, differentiate between morality and ethics. And we were talking about this earlier, and if anybody can put more input on this to kind of flesh this idea out, is that morality is kind of what you're talking about with like base things, like murder is wrong, rape is wrong, assault is wrong, robbery is wrong. These are all kind of things that make a basic society, that those things are not right, nobody should really do that, we all kind of agree upon it, it's kind of fucked up to do any of those. Whereas ethics is beyond that, the smaller details, the going about your day where you're obviously not doing those because those are immoral, but it's, okay, well, so how is it, wow, this whole street's messed up, but there's 5 different people on the street, be it people's houses or a business or whatever, we need to maintain this street, do I go around and be all like, with a crappy revolver and be like, give me $5 to maintain the street? Is that ethical? Well, obviously it's not to us, but that is kind of a weird thing where, okay, so I'm saying it's not ethical, but that's also because I don't believe there should be government either. I don't think anybody should just go around and be like, oh, I can just take money from people because I say so and I have a gun. But so then you can get into other things about like, okay, well, so we're using force involved in that. What about
Feeding the homeless.
feeding the homeless? I mean, okay, so
Telephone poles.
There's an infinite number of examples. Is I think one of the issues, and one of the main dilemmas is what do I do when there's a new situation that I haven't learned information about, and that's what we're really concerned about. Is
good.
what do you do in
Dig
those
it.
situations?
Well, that's
Dig
actually
it.
fascinating because there are actually times, I can't think of an example right now, but I know he goes through in the book examples where people have moral intuitions that are different from their beliefs. And so he actually uses as evidence that we do have some intuitions that aren't just controlled by, our our conditioning or anything like that.
You got to try something new, or else if what's currently working or what we're currently doing doesn't work, you have to try something new, and that's where you get into all these dilemmas. Is when you do try something new, and you're unsure of whether or not it's moral or not.
Right. But I think his argument would be that you may have some base starting point of an intuition.
Yeah.
But I think he would argue that it's not like you would just intuition's some magical thing that answers everything, but that it may be there as a starting point. But you can look towards reason, evidence, and other things.
You were talking about like new, like the ethics is kind of a thing to like, you know, determine like, well, okay, so what's a new problem comes about, what are we going to do with it, right? Well, let's think some like whether or not you think it's a you know, long-term viable plan, whatever. Let's think about something about seasteading. So somebody like goes out to a place where is already considered to be international waters, legal, state, whatever. No, this is an okay place. You put down your pylons and your chains and whatever and ground it. So can you ethically say this is the property of anybody who lives on here? Or is this subject to the jurisdiction of the UN or something? Can you ethically say it is or isn't? In my opinion, yeah, you went out there, you did all the work, you put the pylons, you put the chains, ethically, hey, look, it's our shit now, we've done it. But you could also...
To be fair, ethically, or morally, however you want to look at it, I don't think that's the conversation we're trying to have right now.
We're going to get some interesting YouTube comments on this.
Morally...
I got a feeling.
Morally speaking, the government is the aggressor when they try to control what happens on your property anyway, in your home. So morally, no matter where you put your home, it's...
So is it applying the information we have to new situations is what we're really talking about?
Well, what I'm saying is the question of homestead, or of seasteading is not so much do they have a moral stand to be in the middle of the ocean if they want to. It's will the guys with guns come after them? And so I don't know. Anybody would argue that morally they have a right to do what they want with their own property in the middle of the ocean.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess you could always make some argument about that you're overusing some resource environment or polluting or something. I mean, I think that's potential moral issue, but
I could see that.
On this seasteading island, we use whale oil for fuel and only whale oil. No, that would be horrible. That would be something that would be completely unethical. There are plenty of other alternatives for fuel in order to power a community or something.
But why would that be unethical?
I think it would be unethical. So you're destroying a.
So just
burn the whales.
Intuitively believe that's
save the whales.
That's immoral.
Kinda, yeah. when you've got like other available resources that do less damage to the surrounding environment, it's probably more ethical to not kill the whales for oil when they're a limited resource. And not only that, but other living creatures that are also very smart and probably can understand what you're saying given a certain period of time. They can.
What if whale oil is easier to get to?
Yeah, but is it cheaper? Really? Is it the effort of it? I mean,
what if some aliens showed up and they're like, these humans would be great?
See, now we're talking about ethics devoid of morality right there. See, when we're talking about like, well, is it easier? Okay, it may be easier, but the whales are kind of smart and cute, and like, do I really want to?
Just assume intelligent beings showed up here.
So are you a vegan then?
Would it be cool if they burned us for fuel?
I do try to stay away from pork, to be honest. I feel like really guilty about eating pork a whole lot. Like it really does kind of bug me.
It's very smart, yeah.
Pigs have feelings, but cows don't.
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I'm not. To get into like the weird, like nitty gritty details of it. Like cows, yeah, okay, they're smart and they understand like the surroundings they're in, and it's a burger is really good. Could I do without it for the rest of my life? Yeah, I could. Do I want to? Not really. Where does the ethical line on that draw?
It's moral bad.
The bacon on top? The bacon on top is the line? I don't know.
Well,
it's an interesting question because...
Bacon and beef are like friends forever, right? Because they're about, so...
I'm not sure, but...
Wow. Alpha ethics in bacon.
All right.
I actually emailed because I was...
Sorry.
That's fine. I was...
Serious show, right?
Bacon.
Issue 1, ethics. All right, here we go. Okay,
First
good.
beer, then
Straighten your ties, everybody.
Ethical burger.
All right.
Because I've struggled with meat eating, and I sent an email to Humor to see what his take on it was, and I mean, his argument is you can't just. It's not easy to solve every ethical problem, but I think he makes a good argument that factory farming does seem to be immoral.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, you could.
You're treating the living thing as an object rather than a living thing.
Should we focus
You know?
on humans though? Like, there's so many actual problems for humans on the planet. Like, not just like in this country, but other countries. There's slavery still going on.
Right.
There's so much stuff. I mean,
We're all a bunch of assholes.
I think.
basically.
I mean, personally, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying personally. Personally, I think whatever your interest is, you should really focus on whatever you really think whatever interests you. That's how problems get solved. Is people who are interested in working.
I
on
like that. I
Right.
mean, there's not like a specific book you're going to read that's going to tell you all the perfect steps to how to live your life.
Yeah.
You're going to take from this and you're going to take from that,
You gotta
and you're going to come
research.
up with things that are going to make you feel happier in your life. And more often than not, because we can already consider certain things, we've already talked about it, that we that universally is considered immoral, that you're going to give and take with certain different edges of stuff, but it's still all going to come back to like, well, does it jive with my initial like core of morality? And so that's where you're going to kind of, you're going to borrow and give and take, and you'll eventually come up with something that makes you feel happy with on your life. Like, to me, chicken doesn't bug me. It's like, it's a bird, I'm sorry. You might, there's some birds that are smart. Ravens are super smart. They'll drop a nut in the middle of the road, wait for the cars to run over, pick it up. Chicken
You're
just
not
kind
making
of...
your case here, Mike.
Not, but like, beef, I'm kind of
You're
weird
just
about.
making
but
me hungry.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm sorry. That may be
pork
horrible.
makes me feel really guilty,
calling
but then I
foul.
eat bacon, and then it kind of like makes me go, well, bacon, pork, only so much, right? The pig was already dead when I'm eating the bacon. That's what I tell
I
myself.
think
Yeah.
it's the Charlotte's Web book that got you on the bacon. That's it. No, Wilbur.
Oh, Charlotte's Web. Now you're gonna make me cry. I'm gonna sit back and I'm like, oh, pig, that's some pig.
I think the thing I like about this idea of moral intuitionism. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the name, obviously. It's not. The
I
name
hate
that you
the name.
like.
Absolutely hate it.
What's the name?
There's
We
too
don't
many
know, we're not
syllables.
gonna-
That's what the
it's
problem is.
unspeakable.
We
Intuition
know the
moralism.
name.
Moral-
But
We
the
don't
thing
need
I
the
like
name.
about it
It'll be in the
is
title.
All right.
it seems. I think that the morality that humans have has developed through the process of evolution. That which was best for passing your genes on is what developed, and the brains that were able to create that. So this intuition is basically a survival mechanism
I mean,
that I was just saying it's a survival mechanism that developed, which is what I think. If you could say that there's any form of objective morality, that's where it would come from, is through the process of evolution.
Yeah, it would also help explain why there are people without what we call conscience, like psychopaths.
Mhm.
They just developed independently, and they have a different system, and they have
Do you
different
think that
intuitions.
that's wholly
look how
genetic, though?
small of a percentage that is, though.
Right, it is a very
It
small
works,
percentage.
but for how many people, though?
And when it comes
Yeah.
to like
I don't know if
things,
it's genetic.
I don't know that it works either, but
things
Right.
being like considered
they
wrong.
didn't die, I guess.
Right.
When it comes to things being like wrong, as what society considers wrong, you've got
Well, I'll
what's
challenge you on
interesting-
that.
What's interesting about psychopaths, though, is that they learn to mimic actual emotion in society, giving them an advantage, which is why they may have persisted to this time.
Right.
It's not. It may be that their lack of morality is what allowed them to persist.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Or no, I'm sorry. Their ability to mimic morality while not having it.
And the other humans organize hierarchically where they excel, right?
That's another good point.
It's a compound.
Hierarchy, has definitely allowed
rewarded.
psychopaths to proliferate.
Right. But you mentioned what society thinks is wrong. I mean, I think that's kind of cultural subjectivism, I guess you say. And I think makes a good argument in the book that just because society thinks something's wrong doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. So, for example, if society said, you know, we should just kill a bunch of babies for no reason.
And turn those Japanese, you know.
Right. So
Insert war reference here.
yeah.
So we heard you're not Catholic. You know, like, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition sort of thing. Like, yeah, you know, did we just do 2 Monty Python references in one show? Yes, we did. Yes. Yeah, you know, moral, ethical stuff. I mean, it's I've mentioned this a couple times when talking to people about like religion, and I know this is kind of like, okay, well, how does this relate? It does a little bit, and actually kind of does a lot, and we don't really have time to go through the whole thing of how it relates. But you know, it says in the Bible, "Don't eat pork." Did God really come down and said, don't eat the pigs? Did he really come down and do that? Or was it more, I mean, maybe he did if you believe that, I don't know. But, or
Actually,
does
it says cloven-hoofed animals.
Cloven-hoofed animals. But so, or as what a lot of like, you know, scientists have kind of like.
So you can't eat horses, but you cannot eat pigs.
Okay. So what would have like a lot of scientists kind of come up with is that the odds are it's in the Bible because pork is really apt to have
It was the clay pots they stored it in.
parasites and stuff.
It was the clay pots.
Was it the pots?
That's
then?
what I read recently.
Uh-huh.
It was the clay pots they stored it in. Were
So,
susceptible to it.
So I think of it as kind of like that like it was more like, well, all these different rabbis put it in the Bible because they were like, well, that'll probably get you killed, so just don't eat it at all. Let's just throw that in there as a holy scripture from God said don't do it. So, yeah.
Too bad he didn't mention like bacteria or viruses.
Yeah, I know, right? Like all that
nice.
stuff that, you know, scientific nitty-gritty
Only if
of,
he knew. Oh, you know, man wasn't ready for that.
yeah, well, you know.
So what about rape? Where does rape and like raping robots come in like that?
Whoa!
Immoral, I say.
Well, I mean,
Is it rape though?
Well,
Is it sentient? Wait, is it
Let's fast forward
sentient?
2,000 years.
okay,
Is
so
it sentient? Is it a sentient
2,000
robot?
years, I think
Yeah.
we got less than 50.
This
We're
would
going to
be
have,
something you might
If
leave
it's not
to
a sentient
intuition.
robot.
What if it's not sentient, but it's someone else's property?
Ah.
Oh.
Wait. Well, can you own it if it's sentient, though? I mean,
I said
can
not
you,
sentient.
He says it's not sentient,
course
but
not,
somebody
but it's
else's
not.
property.
it's not sentient, but it's somebody else's property. Well, then you...
So is
At
it
that
is
point,
it
it's a
unethical
glor-
if it's a robot or unethical if
At-
it's somebody else's or something?
At that point, it's a glorified fleshlight that you stole from your buddy. Is that what
You
we're
stole
talking
your
about
friend's
here?
flashlight, and you better hope he cleaned it first.
It's not immoral, it's just really effing rude.
And nasty.
Hey, so-
Parasites.
On a side note, nobody go see that American Sniper movie because that's propaganda, right?
Yes, yes.
No, our whole consciousness towards sex would change in, you know, in
Yeah.
due course.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It might, I don't
to me, if there's an android that says that actually consciously says I am alive, you know, like hey, I'm living, then it's actually made that process of it acknowledges what living
That's all
is.
it has to say because I could get a robot to say that.
It's
Okay,
ethical.
all right, so-
program that in there.
I'm not sure we have time to
Yeah,
flesh
we know.
this
Yeah,
out.
exactly. Flesh this out.
Flesh it out?
Yeah, when we say fleshing, not related to fleshlight, we mean that literally as
Don't sue us.
to not literally, but to elaborate a concept.
Google, Christy.
What about fleshlight? What?
We're out of time here. I think.
Have a good
Have a
night.
good night, everybody. Thank you so much.